everybody, and welcome to the Dr. Psych Mom Show. Today, I am going to talk about why people have physical types. This was a request from my Facebook group. And it has to do with many things. Basically, it's another version of Imago. And I also discuss what you should do if you want to marry somebody who isn't your type. I've talked about this whole topic when I talk about when you've just never been attracted to your partner. I touch on this, and also when men don't want sex, but I can go into it more in depth upon request. So first, you must subscribe. You are going to be missing so much if you don't subscribe to my podcast. There are now close to 80 subscriber-only episodes, the most recent of which was Why Not to Marry Somebody Who Puts You on a Pedestal, even though that may seem like a lovely idea if you've been in a loveless marriage before. Okay, so what does it really mean to have a physical type? Well, first of all, this isn't really just a physical type. I mean, yeah, people say, oh, my type is tall guys or something. But then when it gets down to brass tacks, their type is like tall, thin guys who are intellectuals. I'm just not saying that because of anything related to my own marriage. Just kidding. That is my type. That's my husband. Or they'll be like, oh yeah, I just like big boobs. But like, they don't just like big boobs. They like big boobs and like a woman who acts like a certain flirty way and is also kind of dresses a certain way. Like everybody has their thing. You know, and that's why you call it a type. It's not just like a body part. It's like a whole vibe, as the young people say. And I only know what they say because I am a parent to young people. So like a whole type is usually comes from somewhere in your early life. If you don't know this, it's interesting because fetishes are also developed in childhood, and people say children, people nowadays put children in this like puritanical category of like beings without any sorts of thoughts about sex. That isn't true. Have you ever been a child? Children have crushes. Children, like, by the time they hit like tween years, they definitely think about sex in some way or another. Even if they don't think of it as sex, they know what they are attracted to. This is when they start saying so-and-so is cute. So like that doesn't happen when you hit the age of 18 or 21, I mean, it happens like in middle school, like puberty happens, your hormones turn on. And this is when children of that age start to develop types and things like that. So, and who they think is cute. And a lot of that lasts forever. The same type that you thought was cute when you were 12 or 13 is probably the type that you think is cute now. And fetishes develop even earlier than that, actually. But yes, like those are also from things that you see in your environment. So the major ways that I've seen your upbringing relate to your type are either you get somebody exactly like a parent that you idealized, whichever parent that was. Doesn't have to be the same gender. So like, let's say your mother was very... let's say that your mother was tall and imposing and she kind of made comments about, that were dismissive and whatever. Well, you are going to go for some like big avoidant attachment man if you're like a heterosexual woman, I mean, you don't have to go for the same gender, but it's going to be somebody that is like whatever parent you put on a pedestal. Or if you had difficulty with some parent, what I've seen a lot of in actuality is men who had very intrusive, like super womanly sexual mothers, like mothers who are on the narcissist scale somewhere, who were always trying to kind of get men with their looks. And these men are always focused on women's looks, like they want like the model type or like the girl who everybody thinks is hot, which like you may be like, who doesn't want that? Plenty of guys don't want that. Plenty of guys they do not need every head to turn when their wife walks into a room. But guys who have mothers that were like kind of high up on the narcissist scale and look down on other women for not being pretty, frequently they have learned from their mothers that like hotness is the most important thing. And I've actually seen it, now that I think about it, also with women who had narcissistic fathers, that they go for a guy and who is really into his looks and his car and his suits and his haircut and everything. They'll kind of go for guys like that too. Sometimes if you have bad enough issues with a parent, then you will develop a type in opposition to that. So like if your mother was this super sexual woman that was like always trying to, get men based on her looks and her body, then you might go for a woman who is very kind of shy and demure. But I mean, it remains to be seen, like kind of like who knows what those men Google on Pornhub, I mean, like that may not actually be their type, but there are some men who like kind of brag about being with like a woman who's like deeper than like their shallow mother, and by deeper, they mean not only that she thinks deeply, but also that she doesn't care, like ostensibly doesn't care as much about, the like dressing a certain way to attract men. But again, like I have more often seen that if you have a narcissistic parent who's really into their looks, then you're going to be drawn to a very specific, conventionally super attractive type of person, and that will be part of your identity. To get like the model type of person, the person that other people envy and that everybody considers, quote, hot. But this does not apply to everybody because everybody doesn't have a narcissistic parent. So most people, it's like, my mom was like a small blonde and somehow I like end up going for small women or blonde women or both, And so it really does start there. For some people, it's not about that. It's about like an aunt or a sibling, but it's not going to come from nowhere, like your type comes from somewhere in your subconscious, the same way as fetishes. Like if a guy has a pantyhose fetish. I don't even think people wear pantyhose anymore, so pantyhose fetish must be dying off. But it's usually because they saw a lot of pantyhose growing up, and like their mom, their aunts, whoever, they had positive experiences with women acting nicely to them while they were wearing pantyhose, and something just clicked, in their brain. But anyway, so you have a certain type, and it goes usually, even if you think of it as physical, it goes beyond the physical. So like women will be like, I have a physical type. It's like this big buff alpha male. Like alpha male is not a body type. So yes, what you mean is like some big confident, arrogant guy who goes to the gym. Cool, but that is not just physical, because there's also shy guys who go to the gym and you're not as into them. And this, remember, that's not everybody. Like if you are part of a lot of men's forums on the internet, you'll be like, oh yeah, literally every woman is like dying to have some like big alpha male who goes to the gym. That is like not true at all. Like that is totally not true. Like certainly there's some women that like that, but there's plenty of women that don't like that and that are not attracted to that. So let's say that all right, so we talked about physical type. So let's say you're like, yeah, I definitely know my physical type, but here's the thing is like I met this person who's really nice and they're not my type, but they're like so nice and I'm in the honeymoon stage right now and I can just see marrying them. Don't do that. Save yourself some heartache down the line because you're in the honeymoon phase. So you could probably have sex with like a wall and enjoy it, because your hormones are racing. If even at this honeymoon stage, you know that this man isn't your type or this woman isn't your type, go away from them. Like really, like it sounds harsh and maybe for some people it works out. I mean, remember, like, I see a lot of unhappy couples, so maybe there's a lot of happy ones hiding somewhere that marry against type. But both in my personal life, in terms of friends that I have, and in terms of clients that I see, people seem to always be happier when they feel like they got that person that they always wanted. There's even some TikTok thing out now about my childhood crush and my wife/husband now. And the funny part is that they're like so similar. There's even some guy who did it for a joke that he like had a crush on like Cinderella or something, like the cartoon, and then his actual wife is this blonde, blue-eyed woman, and it's like looks kind of like the cartoon. And so the idea is like this in the mainstream media, even, is that you would of course be happier, is the conceit, if you marry somebody who is like the person you always wanted. And it really bears out. in what I see, because I've seen many cases where the person's like, we just really didn't have the spark that I had with other people, but the sex was good, at the beginning, but now I really am not attracted to this person. And that's usually because they say something like, yeah, every woman I dated until her had red hair. And then, but she was real nice and pretty and stuff. And has brown hair and I married her. And, and what they're saying in the is she never turned out to be as compelling to me as the ones with red hair. Or whatever else, the whole vibe, as I said, of red hair. People, it's not just going to be red hair. It's going to be red hair and big boobs like Jessica Rabbit or something, So whatever the case may be. So if you are drawn to marrying somebody that isn't your type, it's probably because you're trying to kind of use your rational brain to make better decisions. And while I do definitely say people should certainly turn their brain on when they're dating, not just date with their genitals, there is also something to be said for a spark and chemistry. And if you do not feel like you have been at your max attraction capacity to your spouse, don't marry them. To your prospective spouse, don't marry them. And this is like how I did the podcast. Like, of course, you should marry the best sex you ever had. You can and you should. Because I forget what spurred that. It was something that I read. If you listen to the podcast, I'm sure I said what spurred it on. Where somebody on social media said, like, you shouldn't or you can't or nobody, women don't marry this is what it was. Women don't marry the best sex they ever had. It was then saying basically women marry a provider, but the past men that they dated were the men that they really were sexually attracted to. And that's like not true for the average woman, and I knew many average women when we were all, single back in the day, and women were happy to be with the person that they were super attracted to. This is who they wanted to marry. So I don't know about all these like women who are making these conscious decisions to marry providers. That in no way replicates anything that I saw in my friend group or anything. And of course, I mean, the myriad women who I speak to in my practice who are primary breadwinners are like, what the fuck? I must have missed that boat because, like I was always on track to earn more than my partner. And there are way more women like that than male primary breadwinners realize, and increasingly more all the time. I think by now it's like 30% or something of women are primary breadwinners or more, because that then includes single mothers. I don't remember, but it's definitely at least 30, which is more than it's ever been, and it's increasing all the time. But the point I was trying to make is, yes, you should marry somebody that you're super attracted to, and yes, you should marry somebody who's your type. This is physical and physically and emotionally important. The emotional piece, because if you do not marry somebody who's like this, you're always going to be yearning for somebody who is your type, and you will always have your head turned. So it's a risk to the marriage, because if somebody who is your type hits on you later on when you're like a bad place with the quote 7-year itch or whatever in the marriage, then yeah, I mean, it's gonna be more of a threat to the commitment. And that shouldn't be true, but it is true, because people are human. They're people by definition. So if you, and then sometimes people say, well, my boyfriend or girlfriend before me always dated one type and I'm not that type. Well, tread carefully and try to look very objectively at your relationship if that's the case. Are there any signals that your partner is not as into you as they were into other people? Is there this kind of like feeling, or do they explicitly or implicitly state really that it's just different with you? It's a more mature relationship. That's never a good sign when people say it's just a more mature relationship, because people mature and mature and mature until they die. So what they may mean by saying that is it's almost like a post-sexual relationship. Like I was young and led around by my dick or my vagina, and now I'm not. I'm mature and I am able to see that attraction isn't everything. And that's not who you want to marry. That's not who's going to be totally in love with you. I talked about this is particularly important for women to be the man's most attractive partner, because men are super visual. And I've done a whole podcast on that research shows that couples are happier when the woman is considered more attractive than the man by everybody, including the man and the woman. But anyway, yes, you should tread carefully. Of course, if maybe there are people who mean this relationship is more mature because I used to have borderline personality and I worked on myself a lot in therapy, and now I don't, throw Molotov cocktails into my boyfriend's apartment when I'm mad. Cool, then that's like a good version of a more mature relationship. But if somebody means, yeah, like with my exes, it was just all about sex, and with you, it isn't, and that's so great, and we're so compatible. No, that just means like they are disillusioned with the world, and they are like sick and tired of dating, and they're trying to hope against hope that there is some like post-sexual sort of relationship that is an option for them. And unless that's what you want to, or unless you're both 85 years old, it really shouldn't be what you're going for. So anyway, that is what I think about types, physical types, and the whole idea of them, in addition to what to do if you are not with one, or with somebody who thinks that you are their type, or not with somebody who is your type. All right, I hope that y'all enjoyed this. Please do subscribe, and I will talk to everybody soon.